Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video I want to share with you guys something I'm incredibly excited to try in patch 3.22, and that is the revival, the resurrection, the return to juicing for solo players consistently in Path of Exile. Now, what is juicing, and where did it go, and why is it being resurrected? Well, juicing in PoE is essentially taking a map and maxing it out, putting as much rolls on it as possible to get as much increased item quantity and pack size and rarity, putting as many mechanics which spawn monsters in it as you can, and multiplying everything as hard as you can with your Atlas passive tree and scarabs. Now, this is a strategy which is still used here and there, but used to be one of the main strategies that people used in endgame. Right now, people farm Crimson Temple for apothecaries, and they use Delirium mobs to get a ton of Delirium rewards overall, and they kind of do that. But both of those kind of require an insane character in endgame, and have incredibly high upkeep costs and buy-in prices, limiting the amount of people who can do this, which definitely is a bit of a shame, because overall, this is a playstyle many people think of fondly, and many people love. So why would it be coming back then? Why would juicing be back on the menu? Well, first and foremost, what happened to it? We need to understand. We need to do a bit of a operation here on understanding what happened to juicing. There was a few things which happened which made juicing no longer as strong. First and foremost, we saw the introduction of Eldritch Altars and a buff to all Alkhan Go league mechanics like Legion, Expedition, Blight, and they continue to get buffed, pushing players into getting more currency from speed farming strategies. That's point number one, and it is incredibly profitable to do these things. Alkhan Go Legion, Alkhan Go Blight, Alkhan Go Expedition, with altars, it's insane. So that's point number one. People have found better alternatives to juicing. But the other points are all against juicing. So juicing saw a number of nerfs which were devastating to its efficacy. First and foremost was the rework to Beyond. They reworked Beyond to basically no longer spawn Beyond bosses as frequently. You only get one now, and that Beyond boss that does spawn is like super duper phased, super duper tanky, and no longer really drops as much stuff. And after it spawns, you no longer get any Beyond monsters or portals to spawn for the rest of the map. And the downside of this is, of course, the Beyond boss can spawn when you kill the first pack. So the issue with this is you can fully juice up your map, scarabs, rolling it, Deli Orbs, everything, put it all on there, spend 100 C on a map, get your Beyond on there, and then you kill the first pack, the Beyond boss spawns, and you just lost like 30 to 40% of the mobs which you were potentially going to get in your map, meaning that you'd lose a lot of potential profit. And that sucked. People hated it, people don't like it, and Beyond has essentially been turned into an Alkhan Go mechanic for the most part now as well. That's another point there. The next thing is we saw a massive change to the way loot works and multipliers work to loot in, I believe it was either Kalandra or Sanctum League, and it absolutely devastated magic finding and group play in the end game. And a lot of people were very unhappy with that. And that is still, I believe, fully in place. So that is definitely something to consider as well. We did also see some removals of some mechanics as well. Stuff like Nemesis monsters drop 3 additional currency items was basically nuked. It's no longer in the game. That was a big incentive to do juicing. And we also did see a change to the economy in the form of Divine Orbs becoming the primary currency instead of Exalted Orbs. And that basically meant all the divination cards that we used to farm were no longer any good, because Exalted Orbs aren't worth as much if you were farming stuff like Brother's Stash, Saint's Treasure, or anything along those lines, the Stout. Those were no longer going to be as viable or as worth it. And unfortunately, the replacement Divine Orbs didn't have any farmable divination cards. So it's just a slew of problems that hit juicing, and the competitor Alkhan Go got mega buffed. So there was a big change in the dynamic of currency making in Path of Exile. So what could possibly possess me to say that juicing might be back with all those nerfs and all those buffs to the alternative? Well, there is 2 big changes with a potential third, which are coming in 3.22, which makes me say that. So first and foremost, we do see the revival of Beyond. Beyond is back on the menu with the new Endless Tide keystone here. It states the Beyond portals in your maps cannot spawn unique bosses. What this means is that if you never spawn a unique boss, you're never going to stop getting Beyond, which now means we can reliably get Beyond throughout all of our map and guarantee those extra monsters that we're going to get. Huge, big. Now, this is not going to be as good as Old Beyond, because Old Beyond, a lot of the loot came from the unique monsters. And the unique monsters, they don't spawn anymore. And even when they did spawn, you got one. But this is pretty damn nice, because Beyond now drops a new currency, tainted currency, and that fully scales with the amount of you get with increased item quantity and the amount of monsters you spawn. So that is a direct play into the juicing playstyle and will be a pretty good source of currency, I imagine, in your juicing strategy. So you get tinted fusings, tinted chromatics, divine teardrops, all that stuff like that. That is a big form of a loot table for juicing, which we didn't previously have or have access to here. So Endless Tide, very, very good. That is point number 1 here. But we also have some other Beyond nodes which got added here, which further increase the potential of Beyond. We have these notables here. If you take all the stuff, you're going to get quant on your Beyond mobs. You're also going to get 30% increase to your maps, to your uniques, to your currency, and also to your divination cards. So Beyond is looking like a pretty big bonus and a massive swing in the right direction here for juicing. Alright, so we've got our monsters and we've got them dropping stuff. We've got that part of the equation somewhat back, but that's no good if we have nothing to farm. Yes, we could go and farm apothecaries, and people absolutely will with Beyond, but that's not consistent enough, at least for my taste, and the buy-in cost is just too high. We need some form of new divination card which is easily farmable, reasonably common, and is a liquid currency. Something like a Divine Orb divination card, and it needs to be in some very good layout maps. Ones that we can really juice up. Well. Holy moly, they added it. The Fortunate Divination card. This is a brand new divination card in 322, and thanks to Sir Gog, we know exactly where it drops, and I can fully back this up. So the Fortunate Divination card requires 12 divination cards and gives you 2 divine orbs. And it's about as rare as the Saint's Treasure divination card, if you've ever run into that one there. And I have gotten a lot of these so far. It's about 2.5 days into League Start right now. And of course, League Start, you're not juicing, you're certainly not maxing out your maps or anything like that. And I've already gotten 15 of these divination cards. Now, where does this divination card drop? That's very important. We know it's good, we know it's common, it drops. Where does it drop though? Well, it drops on any map which has the tag Sun Nature Area. And holy moly, a lot of these are completely bonkers. Alright, so the first and foremost one is Beach Map. Beach Map is an incredible map. It drops a few other divination cards, which are nice, but it now drops this one as well. Beach is incredibly quick. You can juice it up. It doesn't have the most monsters, but it is definitely a pretty nice one if you are running Beach. Pretty damn good here. Another one which is incredibly impactful to have this divination card is Burial Chambers. So Burial Chambers isn't on the Atlas right now, but if it was, oh my goodness, I would definitely consider running it. And the reason for that is that Burial Chambers not only drops the divination card for Divine Orbs now, but it also drops the Headhunter divination card, giving you a double whammy drop here for Burial Chambers, which is crazy. And it's also a pretty good map for juicing. It's got a ton of natural mob density, and overall it is pretty damn nice. So very, very nice. Burial Chambers has it. Canyon also has it. Canyon has been a traditional Magic Find map for some players due to its very nice layout. So Canyon having it as well is phenomenal. Very, very nice, and it gives you extra incentive to run some of these absolutely bonkers layouts, which is very fortunate. Now, potentially the most impactful map to have it here, which unfortunately, again, isn't on the Atlas this time around, bit sad, is Jungle Valley. Now, the reason that it's so impactful for Jungle Valley is that Jungle Valley actually has another divination card, the Scout, which gives Exalted Orbs. So you're farming both of the tier 1 currencies there at the same time. But in addition to that, Jungle Valley has a special mechanic and interaction with Eldritch Altars. So if you run the blue Eldritch Altars, you really want to get the quantity Eldritch Altars for those ones. Now, unfortunately, you don't always gain access to global modifiers on altars, but on Jungle Valley you do, because the boss altars are blocked because the boss doesn't exist when you enter it. So any altar you encounter on Jungle Valley will be either minions or global altars, meaning that Jungle Valley is one of the premier Magic Finding maps for juicing. People used it a lot, and it is absolutely phenomenal. And now it has one of the best divination cards in the game in it, meaning this one here, when it finally does come back, is going to be a favorite for Magic Finding for solo players, I imagine. It's also a great layout for stuff like Breach, Legion, and anything else you might want to be interested in, so it's also very, very nice. Now, another one that gets this divination card is Dunes. Oh my gosh, this is the premier map for both Breach and Legion right now. And those are both mechanics which add a ton of monsters to the map and can somewhat be considered juice. And you can now further stack on other mechanics on top of your Dune strategies to get more and more of this divination card. Now, me personally, an immediate change I'm going to make as soon as I get a little bit of backing in terms of finance for buying scarabs and stuff like that, is I'm going to start running divination card scarabs on every single one of my maps, which I do in Dunes, which have any form of mechanics in them, because it's just 50% more or more of that, of that divination card. That's absolutely crazy, and it's a bit of a game changer, honestly, for these strategies here. You're going to be able to push them much further and be incentivized to do so. Maybe you do Legion, Beyond, and put on stuff like Divination Card Scarabs, and you go for quantity. There is a lot of stuff that you can start to consider doing, which is incredibly cool. Now, another one here which is particularly interesting is Tropical Island. Tropical Island does drop the Scout as well, and it used to be, in times of old, the best map for Delirium Mirrors if you were interested in Simulacrum Splinter farming. Now, Simulacrums aren't the most expensive anymore, but if they ever are, this might be a very interesting map to try and go ahead and use a bit of a juicing up strategy here. And Beyond also synergizes very nicely with Delirium, which is pretty damn nice as well. We do have another few honorary mentions here. Shore can be quite nice, but it loses out to some of the ones already on this list here. Estuary can also be nice, but again, it's not as good as Dunes or something like that. Mesa is one of the best speed farming maps. Now, you're not exactly going to juice up a map you're speed farming, unfortunately, but you could get one or two of the divination cards every now and then, which would be pretty damn impactful, so very nice there. So to wrap things up, we have a massive amount of monsters back in our maps, and they are buffed up thanks to Endless Tide. And we now have an incentive and something to farm, which is consistent and accessible in the form of the Fortunate. And it's on all the maps that we normally run, meaning we can apply juicing mechanics on top of the strats we know and love to just make them even more profitable, or invent entirely new ones, which could be even better. Overall, the future is looking bright, and I can see a lot of new potential strategies that people are going to be cooking up and experimenting with in 3.22. And there's also some other things which might be interesting to experiment with, like maybe, for example, Tormented Spirits. But we'll just have to see how all that plays out. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little bit of a sneak peek preview here of what I'm cooking up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.